Hi everyone, and welcome again for one of our amazing shows here at Holistic Health and Harmony. Now tonight's topic, and we say tonight because it is night, isn't it? At the present moment, is all about tools of the trade. Now you might think, well, what are we talking about tools of the trade for? Now when we say trade, I guess we're talking about anything to do with spiritual. You know, I'm a medium, clairvoyant. Carolyn herself is a clairvoyant. So they're the kind of like tools we're talking about. We're talking about tools that take you into the spiritual realm, or open you up more to the spiritual realm. So
they kind of enhance your gift or your ability. They kind of like other stepping stones. So whether you're using cards or crystals, or whether you're using some forms of divination, such as a pendulum.
A pendulum. You've also got things like down to the ruins, and some of these tools that we'll talk about tonight will be tools that have been used for many centuries. You know, way beyond mine and your age at this point in time.
Oh, that has to be old. No, we're only kidding.
We're only 100 years.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Oh, we've probably done a couple of lifetimes. You could be. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So so we're going to take you back a little bit to some of the original tools that may have been used before even our time, and talking about ruins is one. You know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's also back in ancient Egypt, the foretellers or the future foretellers also.
And the Mayans. The Mayans is another
different type of tools they used, and they weren't things that are tangible. Sometimes I think they used the sun,
weather,
the sun against the rock edge, and that could indicate times where certain things were going to happen on the Mayan calendar. Excuse me. So you know, really, there's so many different tools. Here we go again. You got that happy pill again. But it's good to see. So yeah, tonight we hope to enlighten you a little bit more on different things, how you use them, why you use them, and if you need them. You know, sometimes we don't need them.
That's
but
right.
it's a great way to Carolyn was going to say someone else then. Sorry, Carolyn. Like Carolyn was saying earlier, to enhance your skills. So what do you use, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I use a combination of tarot, numerology, astrology. I use colour, obviously, because I've released my own colour decks and tarot decks.
For the person watching this video for the first time, what's numerology and what's astrology? Okay. You know, to us, we know that.
We know, okay. Well, numerology is taking your name, which has, it assimilates to numbers in the alphabet. So, for instance, A is 1, B is 2, although Z is not 26. It's a 1 to 9, okay. Yeah. And then you kind of like break that down to a single digit, and that gives you an overall influence.
So we're using numbers, per se, to
well, a classic example, okay. A lot of women won't share their age. I'm about to turn 47 this year, I know.
Well, guess what? I'm not going to share my age. Sorry, guys.
I turned 47 this year. But so that means I'm in my 46th birthday at the moment. So just to give people an idea, okay, of just using your birth date itself, okay, 4 and 6.
And the numbers, keeping in mind.
4 and 6, the numbers. Just my age, 4 and 6 equal 10, which equals 1. Okay, so it breaks down to all 1. 6 and 4, you know, breaks down to 10, which is a single digit of a 1. Now that would tell you that I'm in a period of time of new beginnings, you know, beautiful transitions, you know, I'm awakening, I'm pioneering, I'm moving forward, I'm doing things differently. So that's why numerology, sometimes used in a reading, can actually amplify or help cement what's actually happening. It helps reaffirm what's happening in that person's reading.
That's a really good point. What I have found, you know, I don't do numerology as a main thing in my readings or my sessions with a client, but the fascinating thing I've found is that numbers, you know, even using the numbers, doing your personal year and doing all those things, really help you to identify who you are on other levels and what triggers you and what your strengths can be by working with the numbers, say for your personal year.
Yeah,
you know,
most
so by working with those numbers.
Even your house number has a vibration.
Your car.
Oh my God, yes. Whether you're going to get a ticket or not get a ticket, that can be a
long story. But we will go into that a little bit later, maybe. But so numerology to the novice here would be using numbers, and obviously there's a lot of different information out there, guys. So really kind of like tap into that. Now, could you tell me a little bit more about astrology?
Okay, so astrology is the study of the houses, which there are 12 houses. There are 10 planets. Each of those houses are predominantly important because they make up who we are. So even if you've got planets missing in certain houses at the time that you are born.
Sorry, Carolyn, I'm just going to stop you there.
Yeah.
But for somebody who does not know anything about astrology, how would you best define what astrology is? In my mind, I would say maybe
read a book.
Astrologically, it's the planets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Most definitely, it's the planets that have an influence. So we all have our sun sign. So, for instance, I'm a Sagittarian and Rayleen is a Taurus.
Yeah.
Okay. But we also have rising signs, which we project to the world. It's a bit like our mask that we wear. So by having the time of birth that you were born.
Many masks. By
having the time of the approximate accurate time that you were born and the place that you were born, we're able to look at where the planets were, where the sun was, where the moon was, where Mercury is, because there is 10 planets, okay? And the way that they're placed in your houses have a lot to do with astrologically your strengths, your weaknesses, your life path journey, health and well-being, type of career that you'll be drawn into. And actually some cultures take that quite serious, such as the Indian cultures, okay? The Hindu,
they've got some very traditional ways.
Yes.
And this is something to keep in mind for somebody who's first coming into understanding astrology, is there's many different forms of
astrology, that's correct.
And, one form may not suit you.
That's it.
And other forms will.
And some people don't know their time of birth. Because it wasn't prevalent to write on baby cards or birth certificates, or hospital records get lost. So people kind of get a little bit like going like, well, I don't really know my birth time, and you need to have really to be accurate with a chart placement. You have to have it within the 15 minutes of birth. Yeah.
And in saying that, I must say to my last child that I had, little boy Benjamin, I specifically remember. The moment I pushed him out, the last moment, what's the time? And the midwife must have thought, what is wrong with this girl? Yeah. But I knew for myself that it was really important to know his particular time of coming into the world. And I know sometimes people document things, 5 minutes later or something like that.
That's it, yeah.
I'm not suggesting everyone stop and go, what's the time? You don't stop, but it is important.
It is important.
So you use numerology, astrology. What else do you use?
I use tarot, of course, which has been around since the turn of the century and beyond. Okay, I use playing cards, which cartomancy is quite large.
You say that
cartomancy.
And it's funny your pronunciation, because I say cartomancy.
Oh, do you? Yeah. It probably is cartomancy, but I call it cartomancy.
But I like the sound of yours. It's a little bit more sophisticated. So we'll go with what is it?
Cartomancy.
Well, I say cartomancy. So be interesting. What do you think? Let us know what you call it.
What do you call it? And have you used a tarot deck? Have you tried to look at playing cards?
Playing cards are just a normal deck, aren't they?
They are just a normal deck. 52 cards. 52 cards. Using all the suits. That's it. Using all the suits. Where tarot is 78 cards. It has a minor arcana and a major arcana, and added together. Some people only read upright. Some people only read in reverse. Or go between it. Timing's one of the biggest things that takes a lot of time to learn. It's about getting to know your tool, and once you've known your tool, okay, you actually assimilate better with your tool.
And it's like any trade, and we're not just talking about clairvoyance or mediumship or psychic ability here. I think it's about anybody. When you do a trade and you work with certain tools, I feel like you better laugh.
No, I'm not. I'm being really serious.
Okay, but it's like everybody that any trade, you've got your tool, and if you don't know your tool when you first get it, obviously you've got to practice, and
the more that you practice, exactly, the better you get to actually know the tool, and the perfection that you actually get through that is that you actually open up your crown chakra, you open up your energy, you get a much deeper depth of a reading, or a much deeper depth of a healing, or whatever you're utilizing, because you use Reiki, and hypnotherapy. You don't do the hypnotherapy?
No, I'm a client. I don't want to turn into a duck or anything. No, my hypnotherapy is a little bit separate.
It's more of a healing,
Yeah, it's definitely, and it's a form. It's definitely a tool. But in the clairvoyant side of things, I don't really need to put my people to sleep. I need to kind of like
you need to keep them awake. That's right.
So but it works on many levels.
Definitely.
So you got So we've now got the numerology, astrology. You use your tarot deck. But you also use your color deck too.
Most definitely. So I use color divination,
which is a great tool.
It is a great tool because you'll get to hear us talk about colours and the significance of them in your life. Well, it's amazing when you put them into a divination deck how much they can tell you about a personality, tell you about your future, your finances, and so forth. Most definitely, yeah. So, colours are very important. It's anything, you could toss rocks. You could, and this is it, you
could toss a rock.
But the thing is, yeah, I know, but it is how you find your relationship with your guidance. So it doesn't have to be mainstream. It doesn't have to be a pendulum. It doesn't have to be a deck of cards. It doesn't have to be a crystal ball. It doesn't have to be...
You may be your main tool.
That's it.
Well, you are the main tool.
You are, and you are simulating. That's exactly right, yes.
Yeah, well, for myself, I tend to use... I am my main tool. I must be honest. I am in the medium and the clairvoyant 24/7, and for me, that I have a lot more faith in me being the vessel. But I do work with and most people might know of our little darling Christabella,
which is quite famous.
She's more famous than me, to be honest. She's done a lot of TV and a lot of newspaper roles and things like that. So I tend to, when I'm working in any way, she's one of my main tools. I also do have other crystals that I work with, and when I say that, they look very pretty on the table, but they've actually got a specific purpose.
That's exactly right.
And they certainly work with me when it comes to balancing the energy around me, my work, and making sure that my area is clear to be, so I can be a clear vessel or clear true channel to you. So yeah, I use my crystals. I use Christabella. I've got several decks. The two main decks that I have worked with over this 30 odd years is my animal medicine cards, Native American Indian animal cards. I love them.
Yeah.
And what they are just a card that have several different animals and a lot of in-depth meanings to what the animals symbolise. And I've also got the mythic tarot deck that I use. And
you don't use my tarot deck? Oh my God!
I use that privately, but that's just personal. Yeah, like any tool, I've got to get used to knowing the deck.
Most definitely.
And I must say, in the times I have used them, and I haven't used them with clients. Oh, maybe I've tried once, but I like to personalise a deck with myself too.
Most definitely, and
your deck, that's what I've done.
That's exactly right. And with any tool, it's the same thing. You're getting to learn the familiarity because your guides and your angels and your energy will speak to you in a way that you're able to recognise it. And if you're comfortable with, your crystals, or you're comfortable with a certain deck of cards, or if you're comfortable with a certain, procedure that you do or a routine that you do, then you will find that you actually are more relaxed and able to let the information come through and flow a lot more easier. Some people use candles.
Yeah.
I was teaching class and someone said, I light a candle, and I'm like, oh, it's not like that I didn't think of that. It's like I thought, I didn't actually look at it as a form of scrying and energy as far as, like sitting down and doing...
Well, a pen and paper can be just as effective as long as you're that clear vessel. Like if you want to tune into a situation, regarding something that's going on around you, one of the tools you can do is use pen and paper. Close your eyes, go into that meditative state, semi-meditative state. I'm going to say semi-meditative state because you have to be semi-conscious to be able to kind of and just allow...
It would help.
Well, it certainly would. And just allow yourself to go into that space and ask the questions. If it's about a new job that's really important to you, pen and paper can be one of the biggest tools, and not just for telling the future, but the biggest tools for recording things that may be even beneficial to you later.
Yeah, so, a lot of self-healing happens when you really listen and you let the energy come through too. Absolutely. So you may find that the writing that you're doing, and that's how I found with my automatic writing, was more about, it was sometimes poetry, sometimes it was just a flow of not really telling me anything predictive and not telling me anything of the past, but telling me how I needed to look better at myself, the energy changes that I needed to make. It is about...
It's interesting as you talk, because as you know, I'm a visual, and very often will bring visions, and as you was just talking then, I just had a beautiful vision of a fire and I could see this lovely Aboriginal man in front of this fire. And one of the things I think, obviously, for the moment to talk about would be, that's another divination tool for the Aboriginal people. They use many different natural forms of earth magic, and storytelling, and even I just saw this fire, and it was almost like the fire to the Aboriginal, traditional Aboriginal person. Told many a story about future, about what to expect, what the culture tribes could expect. So when you look at it, there's an unlimited amount of tools that we can access for whatever reasons. Like I say, it doesn't have to be futuristic, as in talking about predicting what's coming up, but it can be something that you might need to know in that particular moment.
Most definitely. And it's the culture. It's a cultural knowledge in the folklore. Like you look at the Celtics, you look at Stonehenge, you look at, these are all really strong areas that have drawn energy, and from there, we've learned a lot. Even Atlantis, we haven't even covered Atlantis, but even Atlantis and the crystals and the skulls and so forth. It's all about what it is that makes you who you are, that makes you actually be able to take in
and be aware of more than what and who you are. And I guess that's the key. When we have a tool, it allows you to be able to go, okay, I've got this. I'm gonna play with this, and you might hear me say a lot in our videos. I'm gonna play with, because I think one of the most important ways to really open up to who you are on a higher level. Not so much about. Again, I want to keep it back to the basics. If you're not a spiritual person and you don't want to develop, that's fine. These are tools that you can use in everyday life just to make life simpler.
Most definitely.
But it's amazing with a willingness and just kind of like exploring, going over to an area that you don't really know or that's not familiar.
And I think it really opens you up as well. Like you said, you're talking about awareness. Even with people that have a particular, and they're quite strong in one area, you may find that when they're introduced to a different tool, it actually unlocks another level for them.
That's right.
It's almost like their psychic DNA or their energetic DNA goes like, hello, it's time.
Again, going back into considering, generations, how, once, going back many years ago, the sheep shearer used to use completely different tools. And I'm going to the country for some unknown reason. And then now, in our days, it's a completely different setup. So for somebody who is a little bit fixed in their ways, a new tool could be a bit daunting until they get familiar with it. So,
and the other negative to that is that you can become too reliant. I can remember many years ago I went for a reading, and I very rarely go for a reading, but I went for a reading, and this gentleman had spoken to me, and he says to me, you do tarot? And I said, yes. And he goes, why do you do tarot? And I go, oh, because, I like to start off that way. I like to, open, everyone has a protection prayer, everyone has this, everyone has that. This is mine, it starts me off. And he turned around and he said to me, he goes, but that will become your crutch. And he was very, very true. It was. If I didn't have my cards in front of me, I felt like, oh my God, I'm not connected, even though I was. It's almost like that was my little boundary or little barrier I needed to jump over, and I have. But it's like it took me that time. Him saying that, I was kind of, oh yeah, right.
I must say, I must admit, there's been times where I've been going to psychic TV, and in my panic to get to the studio one time, I kind of like forgot everything, except for myself. And then I get to the studio and I go, where's all my tools? Although I do love to work with them, and I know myself that I don't need the tools.
And sometimes you need to trust. You just, like you said, you need to trust.
It's a process of trust. And I mean, again, and this is for maybe those of you who are doing this field of work, you may find that, this has happened to you. Sometimes when we don't have our tools, it can make us feel a little bit like, oh, are we where we need to be? Now, I've totally lost track of what I was saying.
Yeah, but you turned up without your tools, so...
You turn up without your tools, but there was something very...
You were turned up to psychic TV without your tools, so what did you have to do? How did you get through that show? Because normally
I always do. I think I do what I always do, but I think that the key here is, and it's a good point for you, Carolyn, not relying on a particular tool. The most important tool is relying on your own ability to be able to distinguish what's important, what's not, and if you can't do it, you can't do it.
Most definitely.
It's taking that pressure off yourself, but seeing that, you know, there are many different ways of doing things, rather than just relying on that one source. There was something really significant. I haven't said what I was going to say.
No, I know. But I think the whole crux of the conversation or the topic is that you will learn to develop, and sometimes we develop and evolve through different divination or different tools of the trade, and whether this is you know, doing energetic work, whether it's working with crystals, whether it's working with, you know, literature, a mentor, cards, cartomancy, and so forth, okay, numerology, astrology, the whole lot. You will learn to evolve in some shape or form. Sometimes some people feel that they can do it just by themselves, which is true, but you do need knowledge. You do need that kind of challenge to pop you through.
Just remember. Oh, now I've said that. I'm likely to forget it. But when you was talking then, it would just come back to...
you did. You forgot it again. So I'll just keep talking. So the thing is,
I'm just going to be rude and go blah, 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 because it was really important.
I'll let you talk over me.
Yeah, it was really important at the time because it was something pertaining to those who are in the industry.
Most definitely.
And I'm hoping that some people that
pass on the knowledge, pass on your tools, pass on what happens. Nobody can take your gift from you, and I think that that's very important as well. You know what I mean? Is to make sure that nobody, that you know that it's something that is there to be shared, to be given quite freely from one person to another or energetically, but it's also to be respected at the same time. And I think that a lot of the times you will find that, you know, whether you've started off very, very slowly, you might have picked up your very first book that got you, you know, intrigued. You may have found that you were always drawn to crystals. You may have found that you're always drawn to a certain culture or something. Go back into that, okay, and tap into that energy, because you could find that the answers that you are looking for
it's not going to go.
are definitely in there, but you'll start, you know, you'll continue to evolve, and that's what this is all about. While Rayleen finds her train of thought that obviously left the train station.
Yeah, I'm kind of like sitting there and I'm going, and really at the time twice it's come and it's gone as quick as it comes. And as you know, in the moment things will come that are really relevant to share with people, and I won't share something unless I'm 100% clear on what I'm being shown. Yeah. And it was for people within the industry. It was for people who are doing this line of work, and it was quite valuable information. Sorry, guys. I will.
Hey, it might come into a future talk. But listen, this is where it's your chance now. It's your chance to tell us, what are your tools? What are your tools of the trade? Yeah. Share with us. Tell us what you've done. Are you into psychometry? Are you into pendulums? Do you read the weather? You know, do you tap into the energy? Do you all these types of things? Do you draw? I mean, oh my goodness, some of the most amazing. Well, I remember going to some of the fairs and seeing just some of the gorgeous energy drawings that you would see, you know, from guides and so forth, you know, and auric, you know, the auric presence. Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, if anything from this talk tonight, I'd like to say, you know, I really do hope that you play a little bit, you know, explore a few different tools. If you only use tarot cards, or if you don't use tarot cards, and you want to use tarot cards, you know, have a feel your way. You know, it's really important that
find your comfort zone, find your tool.
I always say with crystals, and I have Carolyn's lovely lapis in my hand at the moment. You know, if this was in the store, I would definitely be drawn to it. Lapis.
She loves lapis.
But it is important to really feel your way. So if you're buying a new crystal or buying a new deck, or feeling there's a particular book that's going to give you insight, really sit with it. Don't just be hasty and jump in and go,
that's right.
You know, really sit with it, feel if it's right for you, and see if it's going to give you something. But I think tonight's talk's been pretty good. You know, I think we've talked about quite a lot of different areas. There's, you know, we've talked
there's
about,
no right or wrong. You know, whatever you're drawn to, that's right. And some people might use meditation. Some people may use nothing.
I my eyes open. Would you believe that?
Yeah, so do I.
Do you?
Yeah, otherwise I start thinking about my budget.
We meditate on the same room looking at each other. Yeah, but anyway, and, you know, and that's funny, you know, what traditionally people would close their eyes. But I find I close my eyes and, you know.
Yeah, I leave them open, but you just kind of, you close down your sight.
But that's another
topic.
Again,
yeah, exactly. I know we do, don't we? So we really hope that you've enjoyed tonight's topic.
And please feel free. You know, we are on Facebook. All our information is here on this channel, and YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. You know, we just love to, know that what we're sharing with you is helping you. You know, that's I guess that's the main.
That's right, and your feedback is, very important to us because it makes us feel like that we're not the only one watching ourselves.
Well, you might feel like that. You know, half the time the screen goes funny, and I go, "Oh, are we still on?" And you give me that look. But anyway, we do hope you've had a lovely night, everyone. And we so hope to have you view our next or future shows.
Yeah, most definitely.
We are going to touch on topics, and look, your feedback is invaluable. So have a lovely evening or day.
Yeah, look us up on Facebook at Holistic Health and Harmony.
I got it.
Yeah, you did too. Okay, thank you very much, and cosmic hugs from me.
And namaste.